Research is hard, but your tools should not be. Subthesis.com is the free alternative to expensive software. Whether you need to calculate Cronbach's alpha or organize your field notes, Subthesis has a tool for it. No paywalls and no registration required. Check the link in the description and let's dive into today's lesson. Welcome to this crucial discussion of stress management in graduate school. Graduate education is inherently demanding. The intellectual challenges, workload pressures, financial constraints, uncertain futures, and social dynamics of academic life create stress that affects nearly every student. Research consistently shows elevated rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout among graduate students compared to the general population. This is not weakness or personal failure. It is the predictable result of demanding circumstances. Managing stress effectively is not merely about feeling better, though that matters. Effective stress management directly supports academic success. Students who manage stress well think more clearly, write more productively, and persist through difficulties more effectively than those who are overwhelmed. Today, we will explore the unique stressors of graduate life, develop practical management strategies, build sustainable self-care practices, and identify when and how to seek professional support. Your well-being is not a luxury separate from your academic work. It is the foundation that makes sustained academic work possible. By the end of this session, you will be equipped across 4 essential dimensions of stress management. First, you will recognize the unique stressors of graduate education and understand how they impact your mental health, physical health, and academic performance. Recognizing stress is the first step toward managing it. Second, you will develop practical strategies for managing academic stress effectively, including techniques you can apply immediately when stress becomes overwhelming. Third, you will learn to build sustainable self-care practices that support long-term well-being rather than just crisis intervention. Prevention is more effective than reaction. Finally, you will be able to identify when professional help is needed and understand how to access the support resources available to you. Some stress requires more than self-management, and knowing when to seek help is itself a crucial skill. Let us begin by understanding the particular stressors graduate students face. Graduate students face a distinctive constellation of stressors that make this period particularly challenging. Understanding these stressors helps you recognize what you are experiencing and address it appropriately. Workload intensity in graduate school exceeds most other contexts. There is always more to read, more to write, more to analyze. Unlike jobs with defined hours, graduate work expands to fill available time and beyond. The sense that you could always be doing more creates persistent pressure even during supposed rest. Ambiguity pervades graduate life. Unlike structured programs with clear requirements and timelines, graduate education often lacks clear endpoints. How much reading is enough? When is a dissertation draft good enough? How long should comprehensive exam preparation take? This ambiguity creates anxiety because you cannot be confident you are meeting expectations. Financial pressure affects most graduate students. Stipends are often inadequate for comfortable living, especially in expensive cities. Student debt may accumulate. Financial stress compounds academic stress and can force difficult choices between economic necessity and academic focus. Identity investment means graduate students often tie their self-worth to academic success. Your research is not just a job, but an expression of who you are. When work goes poorly, it feels like you are failing as a person, not just at a task. This fusion of identity and achievement amplifies the emotional stakes of academic challenges. Stressors shift across different stages of graduate education. Understanding what is typical for your stage helps normalize your experience and anticipate upcoming challenges. Early years bring adjustment stress as you learn new expectations, workload patterns, and academic culture. Heavy coursework demands compete with beginning research. Many students struggle with proving they belong and wonder whether they were admitted by mistake. Middle years bring high-stakes examinations like comprehensive exams or qualifying exams. Developing your research proposal requires committing to a direction while uncertainty persists about whether your ideas are good enough. The transition from consuming knowledge to producing it feels particularly challenging for many students. Later years center on dissertation completion pressure and job market anxiety. The dissertation must be finished, but standards for done remain unclear. Meanwhile, the academic job market's difficulties create stress about what happens after graduation. Competing demands of finishing and job searching create overwhelming periods. Throughout all stages, advisor relationships can be sources of support or stress. Power dynamics, communication difficulties, or mismatched expectations create challenges. Imposter syndrome, the feeling that you do not really belong and will be discovered as a fraud, affects graduate students across all stages and backgrounds. Recognizing how stress manifests in your body, emotions, thoughts, and behaviors is essential for managing it. Stress often accumulates gradually, and awareness of warning signs enables earlier intervention. Physical symptoms include disrupted sleep, whether difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or sleeping excessively. Chronic fatigue persists even after rest. Muscle tension, especially in neck and shoulders, is common. Stress weakens immune function, so frequent illness may indicate prolonged stress. Headaches, digestive problems, and other physical complaints often have stress components. Emotional symptoms include persistent anxiety or worry that seems disproportionate to circumstances, irritability and short temper with people who do not deserve it, feelings of hopelessness or depression, emotional numbness or difficulty, feeling pleasure in activities you usually enjoy. Cognitive symptoms manifest as difficulty concentrating or remembering, racing thoughts that are hard to quiet, negative thinking patterns where you assume the worst, difficulty making decisions or excessive rumination about decisions already made. Behavioral symptoms include social withdrawal from friends and activities, procrastination and avoidance of work tasks, unhealthy coping through excessive alcohol, emotional eating, or other problematic behaviors. Neglecting self-care you know is important. Notice which symptoms are most prominent for you so you can recognize when stress is affecting you. When stress becomes acute, immediate relief techniques help you regain equilibrium so you can think clearly and respond effectively. These techniques do not solve underlying problems but create space to address them. Deep breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the calming counterpart to the fight or flight response. Slow, deep breaths signal your body that you are safe. Try breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, and exhaling for 6 counts. Even a few minutes of deep breathing reduces physiological stress response. Progressive muscle relaxation releases physical tension systematically. Starting from your feet, tense each muscle group for 5 seconds, then release. Move up through your legs, torso, arms, and face. The contrast between tension and release teaches your body what relaxation feels like and helps release accumulated physical stress. Grounding exercises return your attention to the present moment rather than worries about the future or regrets about the past. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can hear, 3 you can touch, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. This sensory focus interrupts spiraling thoughts and anchors you in the present. Physical movement changes your physiological state. Even a brief walk around the block or some jumping jacks can shift your nervous system out of stress response. Movement burns off stress hormones and can create mental space that sitting with distress does not provide. Much stress comes not from circumstances themselves, but from how we interpret them. Cognitive reframing helps you develop more balanced thinking that reduces unnecessary distress. Identify catastrophizing when it occurs. Catastrophizing means assuming the worst possible outcome will happen. If I do poorly on this exam, I will fail out of the program, never get a job, and ruin my life. Ask yourself whether your fears are actually true or whether you are exaggerating consequences. Usually realistic outcomes are less dire than catastrophic imaginings. Challenge absolute thinking using words like never and always. I will never finish this dissertation. I always mess up presentations. These absolutes are rarely accurate. You can find counterexamples if you look. Replacing absolutes with more nuanced language like sometimes I struggle with presentations is both more accurate and less distressing. Practice perspective taking by asking how a supportive friend would see your situation. We are often harsher with ourselves than with others. If a friend came to you with the same concern, what would you say to them? Apply that same compassion to yourself. Make realistic assessments of likely outcomes. Consider what has actually happened in similar past situations. Consider base rates, meaning how often do students in your program actually fail out? Usually, realistic assessment reveals that outcomes are likely to be manageable even if not ideal. While managing acute stress is important, building resilience makes you less susceptible to stress in the first place. Resilience practices strengthen your capacity to handle challenges without becoming overwhelmed. Sleep is foundational to mental health. Sleep deprivation increases emotional reactivity, impairs cognitive function, and reduces stress tolerance. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Graduate students often sacrifice sleep to meet demands, but this creates a downward spiral where impaired function requires more work time. Prioritize adequate sleep even when it feels impossible. Regular exercise is one of the most effective stress management interventions. Physical activity reduces stress hormones, improves mood, and enhances cognitive function. Even moderate activity like daily walking provides significant benefits. Find forms of exercise you enjoy so you will actually do them consistently. Social connection buffers stress by providing support, perspective, and belonging. Relationships require time investment that graduate school pressures squeeze out. Protect time for meaningful connection with friends, family, and community. Isolation amplifies stress. Connection mitigates it. Meaningful activities beyond academics remind you that your identity extends beyond your research. Hobbies, volunteer work, spiritual practice, creative pursuits, or any activities that bring meaning and satisfaction diversify your sources of fulfillment. When academics are difficult, having other meaningful activities prevents total despair. Poor time management creates stress, effective time management reduces it. While we covered time management extensively earlier, several aspects particularly impact stress. Realistic planning means acknowledging what is actually possible rather than scheduling an ideal fantasy. If you consistently fail to complete planned tasks, your expectations are unrealistic. Chronic sense of falling behind creates chronic stress. Plan conservatively so you can succeed at what you plan rather than constantly disappointing yourself. Protected boundaries establish work-free time that actually exists. Without boundaries, work expands indefinitely. Define times when you are not working, whether evenings, weekends, or specific hours, and protect them. Guilt about not working during protected time is normal initially, but decreases as you see that boundaries actually improve productivity. Task prioritization prevents the stress of feeling everything is equally urgent. Not all tasks are equally important. Identify your 3 most important tasks each day and ensure they get done. Accept that lower priority items may not get done, and that is acceptable. The feeling that everything is urgent creates paralysis. Build buffer time into your schedule for unexpected demands. Meetings run long, tasks take longer than expected, emergencies arise. If your schedule has no slack, any disruption creates stress. Buffers allow you to absorb surprises without cascading into crisis. Perfectionism is endemic in academia and is a major source of stress for graduate students. Learning to recognize and manage perfectionist tendencies can significantly reduce your stress burden. Distinguish healthy striving from unhealthy perfectionism. Striving for excellence and caring about quality is appropriate. Unhealthy perfectionism involves berating yourself for any mistake, feeling that your worth depends on flawless performance, or procrastinating because you cannot start until you are certain of perfection. The latter creates paralysis and misery. Recognize diminishing returns in academic work. A paper that takes 20 hours is usually much better than one that takes 2 hours, but a paper that takes 200 hours is rarely much better than one that takes 20. At some point, additional effort yields little improvement. Perfectionists struggle to recognize when they have reached good enough. Accept good enough for tasks that do not warrant perfection. Not every assignment, email, or task requires your best possible work. Calibrate effort to importance. Save your perfectionist energy for work that actually matters, like your dissertation or key publications, and let less important work be adequate. Reframe failure as learning rather than catastrophe. Fear of failure drives much perfectionist behavior, but failure is normal, even necessary for growth. Every successful academic has accumulated failures along the way. Treating failures as information about what to do differently rather than as evidence of your unworthiness reduces the stakes of imperfection. Imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud who does not really belong and will be exposed, affects most graduate students at some point. Managing these feelings reduces stress and enables you to work more effectively. Recognize that imposter syndrome is extremely common. Research suggests 70% or more of people experience imposter feelings at some point. You are not uniquely fraudulent. You are experiencing something nearly universal. Many of the accomplished scholars you admire have felt exactly what you feel. Review evidence of your actual accomplishments rather than dwelling on perceived inadequacies. You were admitted to your program through competitive selection. You have completed coursework and passed exams. You have demonstrated ability that others have recognized. The evidence of your competence exists even when feelings suggest otherwise. Separate feelings from facts. Feeling like a fraud does not make you a fraud. Feelings are real, but not always accurate. The fact that you feel undeserving does not mean you are undeserving. Practice acknowledging the feeling while not accepting it as truth. I am having imposter feelings is different from I am an imposter. Share imposter feelings with trusted colleagues. Discovering that others feel the same way normalizes the experience. Conversations about imposter syndrome often reveal that the people you thought were confidently competent were actually feeling as uncertain as you. Shared struggle builds connection and reduces isolation. Self-compassion offers a powerful alternative to the harsh self-criticism common among graduate students. Research shows self-compassion supports resilience, motivation, and well-being without the costs of self-criticism. Self-kindness means treating yourself with the same care you would extend to a good friend facing similar difficulties. When you struggle, rather than berating yourself for weakness or failure, offer yourself understanding and support. Ask what you would say to a friend in your situation and say that to yourself. Common humanity recognizes that suffering and struggle are shared human experiences, not evidence of personal inadequacy. You are not the only person who finds graduate school hard. Connecting your struggles to the broader human experience reduces isolation and normalizes difficulty. Everyone struggles. You are not uniquely flawed. Mindful awareness involves acknowledging difficult feelings without exaggerating or suppressing them. Rather than either drowning in self-pity or denying that anything is wrong, mindfulness maintains balanced awareness. You recognize this is hard without concluding this is unbearable. Many people resist self-compassion, fearing it will make them soft or unmotivated. Research contradicts this worry. Self-compassion supports motivation better than self-criticism because it does not create the shame and avoidance that harsh self-judgment produces. You can hold high standards while treating yourself kindly when you fall short. Boundaries protect your well-being by limiting work's expansion into all areas of life. Without boundaries, graduate work consumes everything, leaving nothing for rest and renewal. Work-hour boundaries define when work ends. Without structure, work can continue indefinitely since there is always more to do. Decide when your workday ends and stop. Initially, guilt about not working will arise. With practice, you will see that boundaries actually improve productivity by preventing burnout. Communication boundaries establish that you need not always be available. You do not have to respond to emails immediately. You can let calls go to voicemail. Your advisor and colleagues can wait for responses. Turn off notifications during protected time. Constant availability prevents the recovery that sustains long-term performance. Saying no protects your capacity for what actually matters. Not every request, opportunity, or invitation deserves yes. Evaluate whether commitments align with your priorities before agreeing. Each yes is a no to something else, including rest and recovery. Declining graciously is an essential skill. Physical boundaries separate work and rest spaces when possible. If you can avoid working in your bedroom, your brain will more easily transition to rest when you enter that space. When working from home, designate a specific work area and leave it when work hours end. Physical separation supports psychological separation. Support networks buffer stress by providing help, perspective, and connection. Intentionally building diverse support sources strengthens your capacity to handle challenges. Peer support comes from fellow graduate students who understand your experience from the inside. They face similar challenges, speak the same language, and can provide validation that you are not crazy for finding this hard. Invest in peer relationships through study groups, social activities, or simply regular conversation. Mentors offer guidance from the perspective of greater experience. Your advisor is one mentor, but you benefit from multiple mentors offering different perspectives. Senior graduate students, other faculty, and professionals outside academia can all serve mentoring roles. Mentors provide wisdom, reassurance, and practical advice. Non-academic connections provide perspective outside the academic bubble. Friends and family who are not academics remind you that your worth is not determined by your research. They see you as a whole person, not just a graduate student. These relationships maintain balance and provide support uncomplicated by academic dynamics. Professional resources include counseling services, support groups, and other institutional resources designed to help students. Most universities provide mental health services specifically for graduate students. These services exist because graduate student stress is recognized and taken seriously. Using them is not weakness, but wisdom. Self-help strategies have limits. Some stress and mental health challenges require professional intervention. Recognizing when you need more help is essential for your well-being. Persistent symptoms lasting weeks rather than days suggest you need professional support. Everyone has bad days or difficult weeks, but when anxiety, depression, or stress symptoms persist for multiple weeks without improvement, self-management alone may be insufficient. Professional help can provide additional strategies and support. Functional impairment means you cannot do what you need to do. When stress prevents you from attending class, completing work, or maintaining basic self-care, the situation has become serious. Difficulty functioning signals that intervention is needed before things deteriorate further. Physical symptoms deserve attention regardless of cause. Chest pain, severe headaches, digestive problems, or other physical concerns should be evaluated medically even if you suspect stress is contributing. Do not dismiss physical symptoms as just stress without proper evaluation. Crisis signs require immediate help. If you are having thoughts of harming yourself, if you feel hopeless about the future, or if you are experiencing severe distress, reach out immediately. Call a crisis line, go to an emergency room, or contact university emergency services. Crisis moments can pass, but you need support to get through them safely. Understanding available resources helps you access help when you need it. Different resources suit different needs and circumstances. University counseling centers provide mental health services typically free or low cost for enrolled students. These centers understand academic stress and graduate student challenges specifically. Services may include individual counseling, group therapy, workshops, and crisis intervention. Wait times vary. Inquire early if you are considering seeking help. Employee assistance programs serve graduate students with benefits-eligible appointments. If your funding includes employee benefits, you may have access to additional mental health services through EAP. These services are confidential and often provide a certain number of free sessions. Check your benefits documentation or human resources. Community mental health resources extend beyond university services. Therapists in private practice may offer sliding scale fees based on income. Community mental health centers provide services regardless of ability to pay. If you have health insurance, check your mental health coverage and find in-network providers. Crisis resources are available around the clock when you need immediate help. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline provides free, confidential support by calling or texting 988 in the United States. Campus security can respond to mental health emergencies. Knowing these resources exist before you need them helps you access them quickly during crisis. Deciding whether and how to discuss stress or mental health challenges with your advisor requires thoughtfulness. While every advisor relationship is different, some general principles apply. Share what is relevant to your work without over-disclosing. If stress is affecting your productivity or you need accommodations, your advisor should know something is happening. You need not share every detail of your mental health. Something like, "I am dealing with some health challenges that are affecting my work schedule," provides information without requiring full disclosure. Focus conversations on solutions rather than just problems. What accommodations might help? Would adjusting a deadline reduce pressure? Would modified meeting frequency help? Coming with specific requests gives your advisor concrete ways to support you rather than just presenting distress they do not know how to address. Know your rights regarding disability accommodations if your mental health condition qualifies. Your university's Disability Services Office can advise on what accommodations you may be entitled to and how to request them. These processes provide formal channels separate from informal advisor conversations. Most advisors genuinely want their students to succeed and are willing to support students through difficulties. While some advisors handle these conversations poorly, many have dealt with student struggles before and can respond with compassion and flexibility. The risk of talking to your advisor is often smaller than students imagine. Sustainable practices prevent stress accumulation rather than just responding to crises. Building these practices into your regular routines creates a lasting protection. Daily routines provide structure that supports mental stability. Consistent sleep times, regular meals, and designated work hours create predictability that reduces decision fatigue and anxiety. When basics are routine, you have mental energy for challenges. Develop routines that work for you and protect them. Weekly rhythms include regular recovery periods. 1 day per week with minimal or no work provides necessary restoration. Regular exercise, social connection, and leisure activities should occur weekly, not just when you can fit them in. Structure your week to include what sustains you. Semester planning anticipates intensive periods so you can prepare. When are deadlines clustered? When are exams scheduled? Knowing difficult periods are coming allows you to strengthen resources beforehand, schedule lighter loads around them, and plan recovery afterward. Surprises create more stress than anticipated challenges. Annual reflection assesses what is working and what needs adjustment. At the end of each academic year, consider your well-being honestly. What practices helped? What did you neglect that you should prioritize? What stressors can be reduced or eliminated? This reflection informs adjustments that improve subsequent years. Stress management is not merely surviving graduate school, but developing professional skills that serve your entire career. Academic careers continue to involve stress, and patterns established now have long-term implications. Academic careers remain stressful beyond graduate school. Publication pressure, grant competition, service obligations, and work-life balance challenges do not disappear with your degree. If you burn out repeatedly during graduate school, you are not developing sustainable patterns for a sustainable career. What you learn now about managing stress will serve you for decades. Sustainable patterns established during graduate training tend to persist. If you learn to work 80-hour weeks while neglecting health and relationships, that pattern becomes your default. If instead you develop effective strategies for managing workload while maintaining well-being, those patterns become your default. Choose now what patterns you want to carry forward. Modeling healthy practices influences your future environment. When you become a faculty member, mentor, or leader, how you handle stress affects those around you. Demonstrating that productive scholarship can coexist with well-being helps change academic culture. You can be part of making academia healthier for future generations. Your best work requires wellness. Exhausted, anxious, depressed people do not produce their best thinking. The creativity and sustained effort that significant scholarly contribution requires depend on being well enough to access your full capabilities. Investing in your well-being is investing in your work. Let us consolidate the essential lessons from today's exploration of stress management in graduate school. First, recognize that graduate student stress is normal, not evidence of personal weakness or unsuitability for academic life. The stressors are real and affect nearly everyone. Understanding this normalizes your experience and reduces shame that can compound distress. Second, build resilience through prevention practices rather than relying only on crisis response. Sleep, exercise, social connection, boundaries, and self-compassion create foundation that makes you less susceptible to overwhelming stress. Invest in these practices before crisis, not just after. Third, recognize when self-management is insufficient and professional help is needed. Persistent symptoms, functional impairment, and crisis situations require professional intervention. Knowing when and how to access help is wisdom, not weakness. Resources exist because graduate student stress is recognized as serious. Finally, understand that well-being enables rather than competes with academic success. The myth that suffering produces excellence is false. Your best work comes from being well enough to think clearly, create freely, and persist through challenges. Taking care of yourself is taking care of your work. In our next session, we will explore balancing graduate school with personal life, extending these well-being themes into the practical management of competing life demands. Writing the thesis is a marathon, not a sprint, but you do not have to run it alone. If you are feeling stuck with your data or overwhelmed by your sources, let us help. Head over to subthesis.com. It is completely free and designed to make your life easier. You are making progress. Keep going. And don't forget to subscribe for more support.